Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The heavy wooden doors of Adebanjo and Company. Chambers creaked open, and a wave of humid Lagos air swept into the room. Inside, family members in polished igbadas and flashy lace dresses filled the leather chairs arranged around the long mahogany table. Their chatter was loud, restless, tinged with excitement. After all, it was not every day that a billionaire's will was read aloud. Amaka Adebanjo sat quietly at the far end, her plain Ankara gown standing out awkwardly against the sparkle of her half-sister's gold jewelry. She pulled her small handbag closer to her lap, her knuckles pale from the tight grip. Her father was gone. Chief Adebanjo, the man she had loved, feared, and hoped would always protect her, had been lowered into the ground just last week. Now here she was, surrounded by people who had never truly accepted her. Her stepmother, Madame Ronk, adjusted her elaborate head tie and cast Amaka a glance sharp enough to slice through glass. She leaned toward her favorite daughter, Tola, and whispered loud enough for the entire room to hear. "Look at her. She doesn't even belong here. Who invited the beggar?" Snickers rippled through the room. Tola smirked, her lips painted a bold red. "Mummy, leave her. She will soon crawl out on her own once she hears the truth." Amaka pressed her lips together, willing herself not to respond. Every nerve in her body screamed to stand up and defend her place, but she remembered the advice her late mother had given her years ago. Silence can be stronger than words when surrounded by wolves. The lawyer, Mr. Okeke, a tall man in his 60s with graying hair and spectacles that slid constantly down his nose, cleared his throat. The chatter died instantly. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice firm but weary, "we are gathered here today to read the last will and testament of Chief Adebanjo Oladimeji. May his soul rest in peace." "Amen," the family chorused, though some voices lacked sincerity. Mr. Okeke unfolded a thick document and adjusted his glasses. Chief Adebanjo was a man of great vision, wealth, and responsibility. He has left instructions on how his estate should be shared among his surviving family. At that, Madame Ronk leaned forward eagerly. Tola's eyes glittered with anticipation. Even the younger sons, Kunal and Deo, straightened in their seats like hunters waiting for prey. Amaka sat frozen, her heart thudding against her ribs. She remembered nights when her father had promised, "Don't worry, Amaka. You're my first daughter. I will always protect you." She clung to those words now, desperate to believe them. Mr. Okeke began reading, "To my wife, Ronk Adebanjo, I leave the Ikoyi mansion, along with the vehicles registered in her name." Gasps of approval followed. Madame Ronk smiled smugly, adjusting her head tie again as if it were a crown. "To my daughter Tola, I leave the Banana Island property as well as the sum of 50 million naira." Tola clapped her hands together in glee. "Thank you, Daddy," she exclaimed theatrically, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief that bore not a single tear. "To my sons Kunal and Deo, I leave the Lekki apartments and 50 million naira each to manage their ventures." The boys grinned at each other, already whispering about how they would spend it. Mr. Okeke paused and glanced down the table. His gaze met Amaka's for a fleeting second, then dropped back to the document. "And to my daughter, Amaka Adebanjo." The room grew tense. Some chuckled already, anticipating her humiliation. Amaka's palms were clammy. Her throat went dry. She leaned forward slightly, holding her breath. "I leave," Mr. Okeke cleared his throat again, shifting uneasily, "my undying love and prayers for her future." The silence was deafening at first, then erupted into loud, mocking laughter. "Did you hear that?" Tola slapped the table, tears of laughter streaming down her face. "Love and prayers. Ah, poor thing." Kunal doubled over in his chair, nearly falling to the floor. "So all you get is Daddy's ghost watching over you. Wonderful inheritance." Madame Ronk leaned back, her voice dripping with venom. "You see, child? Even your father knew you were not worthy of his wealth. You are nothing and you will remain nothing." Amaka's chest tightened. She blinked rapidly, fighting the tears threatening to spill. Each mocking word pierced her like a spear. She wanted to run, to disappear, but her legs were heavy, her body numb. Still, she forced herself to speak, her voice trembling but audible. "Mr. Okeke, are you sure?" "That is all." The lawyer avoided her eyes. "That is all stated in the public will." The mocking laughter continued. A cousin whispered loudly, "She got exactly what she deserved, nothing." Amaka rose from her chair, her knees wobbling. She gathered her handbag, clutching it like a shield, and turned toward the door. The room buzzed with laughter and cruel whispers behind her. As she walked out, Madame Ronk called after her, "Go and join your poor mother in the grave. At least there you will belong." Her vision blurred as tears finally spilled. The voices faded as she pushed through the heavy wooden doors into the scorching afternoon sun. On the street, honking cars and shouting vendors filled the air. The world moved on, oblivious to the storm tearing through her heart. She leaned against a wall, trying to steady her breathing. Her father's promises rang in her ears, bitter now, almost mocking. Was it all a lie? Did he truly abandon me in the end? She slid down the wall to a crouch, covering her face with both hands. Strangers passed, barely sparing her a glance. In that moment, Amaka felt invisible, forgotten, and utterly alone. But somewhere deep inside, buried beneath the crushing weight of shame, a flicker of determination stirred. She whispered through her tears, "No, this cannot be the end of me." The moment Amaka stepped out of the lawyer's office, the walls echoed with raucous laughter behind her. Tola's shrill voice rang the loudest, like a trumpet of mockery. "She got love and prayers." Tola cackled. "Imagine prayers from a dead man. What will she do, eat them for breakfast?" The family erupted again. Cunnel slapped his thigh, bending forward with tears in his eyes. Deo added, "Maybe she'll use the prayers to buy airtime since she has nothing else." Amaka stood outside, her hands trembling against the cool railings of the balcony. She had hoped for at least one thing, even the smallest piece of security, but to be mocked in front of everyone crushed her spirit. Inside, the lawyer's voice tried to restore order. "Please, this is not a laughing matter. Show respect for the late chief." But Madame Ronk was merciless. Respect? When the will has exposed the truth. Her own father left her nothing. She is nobody. Their laughter echoed like drums in Amaka's ears. She turned and walked away, head bowed. As she descended the stairs, she overheard whispers from distant relatives who had come to witness. "It is sad truly. Chief loved her once." Yes, but Madame Ronk never allowed her to matter. Still, to leave her with nothing? God forbid. Each word was salt on her wounds. She reached the bottom step and collapsed on a bench under a neem tree. Her friend Ngozi called just then. "Amaka, how are you holding up?" Amaka's voice broke. "Ngozi, it's finished. They left me nothing. They laughed at me in that room like I was dirt." Ngozi's sigh carried warmth. "My sister, listen to me. You are not dirt. Even if they treat you like nothing, you are still Amaka. Come home. Don't let their laughter kill your spirit." But as Amaka hung up, she felt the weight of poverty pressing down harder than ever. With no home of her own, no money, no support, the path ahead seemed like a long tunnel with no light. She whispered to herself, "Maybe this is my fate." Yet deep inside, a quiet flame refused to die. The next morning, Amaka woke in Ngozi's cramped apartment. The ceiling leaked from last night's rain, dripping water into a metal bucket. She lay on a thin mattress on the floor, staring blankly. Ngozi, already dressed for work at the tailoring shop, touched her shoulder. "Sister, you can't keep lying here. Get up. Even if life slapped you, slap it back." Amaka gave a weak smile. "With what strength? I have nothing." Ngozi helped her sit. "Your father's money was not your life. You still have your hands, your mind, your dignity. That's something." But Amaka's heart was heavy. She remembered her stepmother's parting words, "Go and join your poor mother in the grave." The cruelty gnawed at her soul. She forced herself up, dressed in a faded wrapper, and followed Ngozi to the tailoring shop. The shop was noisy, filled with the hum of sewing machines and the chatter of apprentices. "Ah, Ngozi's friend," one of them whispered. "She is the girl whose rich father left her nothing." Amaka pretended not to hear, but shame burned her cheeks. She took odd cleaning jobs for the day, scrubbing floors, fetching water, running errands. Her hands blistered, her feet ached, but she endured. By night, she lay on her mattress, exhausted. Hunger twisted her stomach. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks. "Father," she whispered to the ceiling, "why did you abandon me? You said you would protect me." No answer came, only the steady drip of the leaky ceiling. Weeks passed. Amaka settled into a routine of survival. She woke early, helped Ngozi at the shop, and did menial jobs in the market, carrying baskets, washing clothes, anything that brought a little money. The contrast between her life and that of her stepfamily haunted her. She sometimes saw Tola driving past in her flashy new car, music blaring. Cunnel boasted on social media about trips abroad. Amaka's own reality was hunger, sweat, and endless struggle. Yet every hardship toughened her spirit. One evening, she sat with Ngozi outside the small apartment. The sky was deep purple with the setting sun. Amaka, Ngozi said gently, don't let bitterness eat you. One day God will surprise you. Amaka sighed. I want to believe that. But right now all I see is darkness. Her voice cracked, but beneath it, a small ember of determination remained alive. One afternoon while scrubbing the shop floor, Amaka's phone rang. The screen showed an unfamiliar number. Hello, she answered cautiously. Amaka? It was Mr. Okeke, her father's lawyer. His tone was urgent but soft. Please come to my office. There is something I need to discuss privately. Amaka's chest tightened. About what? Your father left instructions, personal ones. Not everything was read aloud in the public will. Please come tomorrow. Amaka's breath caught. Hope flickered. Could it be true? Had her father not abandoned her completely? That night she barely slept. She replayed the lawyer's words, clutching at the possibility that maybe, just maybe, her father had left her something more. The next morning Amaka entered Mr. Okeke's office. Unlike the chaotic family meeting, the room was calm, lined with bookshelves and smelling faintly of old leather. Mr. Okeke gestured for her to sit. Your father left this for you. He slid a sealed envelope across the desk, marked private. Her hands trembled as she tore it open. Inside was a handwritten letter. My dearest Amaka, forgive me. For the sake of peace in the family, I could not declare everything openly. But know this, you are the only one I truly trust. What is yours cannot be stolen. Enclosed is a key and instructions. Follow them and you will find what I left for you. Amaka gasped, tears blurring the ink. Beside the letter was a small rusty key. She looked at Mr. Okeke. What does this mean? He smiled faintly. Your father loved you. More than you realize. Follow his instructions. It will lead you to the truth. Amaka clutched the letter to her chest. For the first time since his death, hope surged like a wave inside her. Amaka followed her father's instructions. The key led her to the outskirts of the city, down a dusty road lined with overgrown bushes. At the end stood an abandoned building, weathered and silent. A caretaker, an old man with wrinkled skin, appeared. Ah, you must be Chief's daughter. He told me someone would come. Amaka's voice shook. This is my father's? The man nodded. He said it was his hidden pride. He wanted it for you alone. The building was cracked, windows broken, weeds overtaking the yard. To outsiders it looked worthless. But Amaka felt something stir within her. This place, she whispered, is mine. Determined, Amaka began cleaning the property. As she swept dust and cobwebs, she stumbled upon a hidden drawer in an old desk. Inside were bundles of documents, land certificates, deeds, and a ledger with her name on it. Her breath caught. These weren't scraps. They were properties, plots of land, shares in companies, titles of ownership worth far more than the flashy gifts her siblings received. She fell to her knees, tears streaming. Daddy, you didn't forget me. Her heart ached, but for the first time it ached with relief. Soon, word reached her family that she had been seen near the abandoned building. They came to mock. Tola laughed, pointing at the cracked walls. Look at her. Living in rubbish. You should frame your father's prayers and hang them here. Kunal joined in, smirking. This is what poverty looks like. She thinks she's found treasure in trash. Amaka said nothing. She stood tall, silent, watching them with calm eyes. Her stepmother sneered. You will never rise above us. Even if you polish dirt, it remains dirt. But Amaka held her secret close. She knew what they didn't, that the dirt they mocked concealed wealth beyond their imagination. And she would not reveal it until the time was right. The building stood silent at dawn as Amaka walked through its dusty halls. She rolled up her sleeves, determination burning in her chest. Ngozi arrived carrying a bucket and broom. Amaka, are you sure you want to waste your strength here? Look at these cracks. It's falling apart. Amaka smiled faintly. Ngozi, it's not falling apart, it's waiting to rise. Together they swept, scrubbed and patched walls. Amaka sold her only gold earrings to buy paint. She borrowed small sums to fix broken doors. Neighbors watched curiously as the once dead property began to breathe again. Weeks turned into months. The transformation was slow but steady. Amaka repurposed the space into a community hall where tailors, traders and artisans could rent shops cheaply. Business trickled in. One evening, as she sat on the steps exhausted but proud, Ngozi handed her a bottle of water. Do you see? People already respect you. Even the market women are calling you Madame Amaka. Amaka chuckled. I'm still the girl with nothing. Ngozi shook her head. No. You are the girl who built something from nothing. Amaka gazed at the glowing windows of the hall. For the first time she believed it too. Success travels fast in Lagos. Within months, news spread that Amaka's property was thriving. One afternoon, a sleek SUV pulled up outside. Tola, Kunal, and Deo stepped out in flashy clothes. Their faces bore fake smiles. Amaka, our sister, Tola sang sweetly. We came to see you. Amaka narrowed her eyes. See me or see this place? Kunal clapped her shoulder. We are family, and family should share. Daddy's wealth belongs to all of us. Amaka walked them inside. The tenants greeted her respectfully. The siblings' smiles faded when they saw the signed deeds on her office wall. Share? Amaka asked calmly. My father made me the sole owner. She placed the original documents before them. Tola's face darkened. So you think you can take everything? We will not allow it. Amaka met her glare. I'm not taking anything. I am managing what was entrusted to me. That is the difference. The siblings stormed out, their false charm replaced with rage. As the SUV sped away, Amaka whispered, So it begins. Weeks later, Amaka was served with court papers. Her stepmother, Madame Ronk, had filed a lawsuit accusing her of forging the documents. Amaka's hands shook as she read the claims. Forgery? Me? Mr. Okeke reassured her. Do not panic. Your father left recorded statements that prove this inheritance is yours. We will fight. In court, Madame Ronk sat proudly with her children behind her, smirking as their lawyer spoke. My clients claim the so-called heir fabricated ownership papers to cheat the rightful family. Gasps filled the room. Amaka's heart pounded. When it was Mr. Okeke's turn, he presented the sealed recordings Chief Adebanjo had left. The late chief's voice echoed in the court. This property belongs to Amaka, my first daughter. It is my personal gift to her. The courtroom erupted. Madame Ronk's face drained of color. Amaka sat quietly, her fists clenched under the table. Betrayal from her own blood cut deep, but hearing her father's voice again gave her strength. After weeks of hearings, the judge finally delivered his ruling. The courtroom was tense. Having reviewed all evidence, the judge said, This court rules that the property and all attached assets rightfully belong to Miss Amaka Adebanjo. Amaka gasped, covering her mouth as relief flooded her. Tola leapt to her feet. This is unfair. We are the family, not her. The judge's gavel slammed. Order. Kunal muttered curses under his breath as they stormed out, their faces twisted in fury. Amaka stood tall, her tears streaming freely this time, not of sorrow but of vindication. Mr. Okeke whispered, Your father would be proud. That night, Amaka walked through her property with a lantern. Every wall, every room seemed to echo her father's promise. What is yours cannot be stolen. For the first time she allowed herself to smile without fear. With the court battle behind her, Amaka focused on growth. She expanded the community hall into a shopping complex. Tenants filled the rooms, tailors, bakers, phone repairers, and traders. Her income grew steadily. She reinvested wisely, buying more land and renovating additional spaces. One evening, Ngozi watched her sign contracts. Amaka, do you realize you're building an empire? Amaka laughed softly. Empire? I only want security. No, Ngozi insisted. Look around you. People depend on this place. You are becoming what your father always dreamed for you. Amaka paused, heart swelling with pride. She was no longer the girl mocked in a lawyer's office. She was a woman shaping her own destiny. Months later, Tola arrived unannounced at Amaka's office. Her once bright clothes were wrinkled, her makeup smudged. Amaka, please, she begged. I need help. My businesses have failed. I'm drowning in debt. Amaka stared silently. Memories of Tola's laughter at her humiliation flooded back. Tola clasped her hands. I know I mocked you. I know I was cruel. But please, you're my sister. After a long silence, Amaka replied, I will not give you money. But I will give you work. She offered Tola a managerial position in one of her shops. It wasn't pity, it was proof of her own strength. Tola wept quietly. For once, she realized who truly had the power. Not long after, Amaka received a call from the hospital. Madame Ronk was gravely ill. Reluctantly, Amaka went. She found her stepmother weak on the bed, her once fierce eyes dimmed. My daughter, Madame Ronk whispered, reaching for her hand. Forgive me. I wronged you. I poisoned your childhood with hatred. Amaka's throat tightened. What? What did I ever do to you? Tears rolled down Ronk's cheeks. I feared you. Your father loved you most and I could not bear it. I am sorry. Amaka sat silently, her emotions a storm. At last she said softly, I forgive you. Not for your sake but for my own peace. Ronk sobbed weakly. For the first time, Amaka saw not a monster but a broken woman. While overseeing renovations of her expanding complex, Amaka met Chinedu, a young architect with calm eyes and steady hands. Unlike the flashy men who once courted her wealth, Chinedu admired her resilience. They worked late nights together, sketching designs and sharing stories. One evening, as rain pattered on the roof, he said quietly, You carry pain but you also carry strength. That is rare. Amaka's heart fluttered, but fear whispered in her ear. I've been mocked and betrayed by family. I don't know if I can trust anyone again. Chinedu took her hand gently. Then let me prove myself not with words but with time. She met his eyes and for the first time in years she allowed herself to hope for love. Months later, Amaka and Chinedu's wedding became the talk of the town. Unlike her siblings' extravagant displays, it was elegant, dignified, and full of genuine joy. The hall was decorated with fresh flowers, laughter filled the air, and guests praised her journey. Her step-siblings sat in silence at the back, their eyes wide with disbelief. The girl they had mocked, humiliated, and cast aside now stood radiant in a white gown, crowned by love and respect. During the vows, Chinedu's voice was steady. I do not marry your wealth, Amaka. I marry your heart. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she replied, and I give it freely. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the hall erupted with applause. The family that once scorned her sat frozen, forced to watch the once penniless girl celebrated like royalty. Amaka's heart swelled with peace. She had not only risen, she had triumphed. The shopping complex bustled with life. Children ran through the corridors, traders displayed colorful fabrics, bakers filled the air with the scent of fresh bread. Amaka stood on the balcony of her office, gazing down with quiet pride. Years had passed since the day she walked out of the lawyer's office empty-handed. Now, the once forgotten daughter had built something far greater than money could measure. Ngozi walked in, her face glowing. Amaka, the school is ready? Amaka turned, eyes widening. Already? Ngozi nodded. The classrooms are painted, the desks are set. The children will start next term. Amaka felt tears prick her eyes. One of her dreams had been to build a school in her father's name, a place for children from poor families to receive education without shame. She drove to the site that afternoon. The school building stood tall, painted in bright colors. Children from the community peeked curiously through the gates, giggling. A banner read, the Adebanjo Foundation School. Amaka stepped inside, running her hand over the polished desks. Memories of her own childhood returned. Her stepmother denying her books, her siblings mocking her for borrowing uniforms. Now she was ensuring no child would face the same humiliation. That evening she hosted a small ceremony. Elders of the community blessed the school. Parents wept with gratitude. You have given our children what we could not, one mother said, clutching Amaka's hands. Later she sat in her office with Chinedu, now her husband, by her side. He leaned back, smiling. Amaka, do you realize what you've done? You have turned your father's name into a legacy. She smiled softly. It was never about revenge. It was about proving to myself that I was not nothing, that I could rise. But her journey didn't stop there. She expanded further, building a hospital in her father's memory. She funded scholarships, donated to widows, and created jobs. Her siblings watched in stunned silence as her name grew bigger in society. Once, they laughed at her for receiving love and prayers. Now, those prayers had blossomed into a legacy they could never match. Tola, now working humbly under Amaka, admitted one evening, You've done what none of us could. You turned pain into power. Amaka smiled gently. No, Tola. I turned trust into responsibility. Daddy trusted me and I will never betray that. As night fell, Amaka looked up at the stars. She whispered, Father, your prayers were enough. They carried me here. The community center buzzed with excitement. Chairs were arranged neatly, children practiced a dance at the front, and the local press set up their cameras. It was the anniversary celebration of the Adebanjo Foundation. Amaka, now in her late 30s, walked onto the stage in a graceful gown. Her natural hair was styled elegantly, her presence commanding yet humble. The crowd rose in applause. In the front row sat her siblings. Their faces were pale, drawn by years of reckless spending and broken pride. They had once mocked her mercilessly, but now they sat as guests in her empire. Amaka took the microphone. Her voice was steady, carrying across the hall. Many years ago I was told I had nothing. My father's will gave me no money, no mansions, no flashy cars. I was mocked, laughed at, and told I was worthless. But what my father truly left me was greater than gold. He left me trust. He trusted me with a seed. And today you see what that seed has grown into. The audience erupted in applause. She continued, "This is not just about me. It is about every person who has ever been told they are nothing. Do not let their words define you. What is yours cannot be stolen. What is meant for you will find you, if you are patient and strong." Ngozi, sitting proudly beside Chinedu, clapped until her palms hurt. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She had witnessed the entire journey from the tiny one-room apartment to this grand moment. After the speech, Amaka moved among the crowd. Elders shook her hand, children hugged her legs, mothers whispered blessings. Her stepmother, frail and in a wheelchair, approached with the help of a nurse. Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Amaka, you have become more than I ever imagined. Forgive my envy. You have proven that you were always worthy." Amaka bent down, kissed her stepmother's forehead and whispered, "I forgave you long ago." Her siblings lingered awkwardly. Kunal finally muttered, "You did what we could not. You won." Amaka smiled faintly. "This was never about winning or losing. It was about honoring my father and honoring myself." That evening, as the celebration ended, Amaka stood outside watching the sunset. The golden light bathed the buildings she had built. Children's laughter echoed in the distance. Chinedu joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Do you ever think back to that day in the lawyer's office?" he asked. Amaka nodded slowly. "Every day. It reminds me how far I've come. They left me with nothing, but I discovered I already had everything: faith, resilience, and my father's trust." The crowd behind them cheered as fireworks lit up the night sky. Amaka closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the moment. She whispered to herself, "They left me penniless, but the will held a secret gift just for me." And with that, her story came full circle. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.